The Sawdust Drum. In a quiet New England valley, a sawmill hummed by the river, its wheel creaking and splashing against the mill pond. Boards lay stacked along the banks, sawdust drifting in pale sunlight. Life was steady and slow, until a traveling theater troupe arrived in the village. The Adams brothers, Nathaniel and Edward, who had grown up running the mill under their father's stern eye, went to see the actress perform. On stage, Margaret, Maggie Winslow, was radiant, commanding the audience with effortless grace. Edward, bold and charming, caught her glance between scenes, and Nathaniel's envy coiled tight in his chest. After the performance, they followed her to the local malt shop. Brass fixtures gleamed, the air sweet with cream and malt. Maggie had taken a seat at a corner table, laughing at some jest from the soda jerk. She lingered near Edward, asking his name, teasing him lightly, brushing his hand as she laughed at a story. Nathaniel stood behind, tense, knuckles pale, as they gripped his mug. "She seems fond of you," Nathaniel said through gritted teeth, forcing a smile. Edward leaned closer, captivated by her voice and laughter. Maggie smiled at him, favoring him with each glance, each gesture, speaking of plans to sketch the mill pond the next morning for a scene in her play. Nathaniel's stomach twisted. Every laugh, every soft word was a spark in the tinder of his jealousy. They left the malt shop together. The night air was sharp, carrying the scent of pine and wet earth from the river valley. Edward hummed a tune from the performance, recounting lines Maggie had delivered. Each laugh, each glance upward toward the moonlit sky gnawed at Nathaniel's restraint. He fingered a thick plank of timber they had gathered earlier, heavy and rough, hidden beneath his coat. "Careful near the water," he said softly as they reached the edge of the mill pond. "It's slippery." His voice was calm, almost fatherly, a mask for the malice he had nurtured since the malt shop. Edward leaned over the edge to peer at his reflection in the dark water. "It's beautiful tonight," he said. "Maggie would love to sketch it. She said it reminds her of a scene from the play." Nathaniel's hand closed on the plank. With a swift, deliberate strike to the back of the head, Edward went limp. He toppled into the cold black water, flailing briefly before disappearing beneath the surface. Silence fell. Reeds rustled, the sawmill groaned faintly, and the river whispered secrets no one could yet hear. The deed was done, calculated and final. Years passed. The sawmill rotted, the wheel half submerged in mud, boards warped and scattered. Maggie had moved on. The village had forgotten, and Nathaniel had died quickly, leaving no one to remember the crime. Edward's death had faded into rumor, dismissed as accident or fancy. Yet the valley itself remembered. One day a wandering drummer, Joss Turner, came, drawn by instinct and by the pulse of the land. Among the ruins of the sawmill he discovered small bones, weathered and bare, the silent remains of Edward. From these he fashioned drumsticks, pale and smooth, and struck the drum he carried. The sound rolled across the valley, deep, relentless, and terrible, each strike echoing the plank against the head, the deliberate shove, the mill pond, the cruelty that had gone unpunished. The reeds shivered in time, the water rippled, and even the remnants of the wheel groaned faintly, as if the mill remembered. No living soul remained to hear it, but the drum spoke the truth across the years. Every beat was accusation, remembrance, and judgment. The crime, though long buried, could not escape the rhythm of the bones. The drum would beat forever, a pulse of guilt and memory, a warning that acts of malice cannot be erased by time or death. In the valley, the echoes lingered, a story written in water, wood, and the inexorable rhythm of bone upon drum.